Facts Only Test Prep.
Welcome to Facts Only Test Prep. We're called Facts Only because we give you everything you need and nothing you don't when it comes to the SAT. So please enjoy the next video.
General approach to reading section.
All right, so the reading can be one of the most frustrating experiences for a test taker, and it's always the first section that you encounter. So you've got 65 minutes of reading. A lot of it is very boring, and a lot of the questions are very frustrating. We've got videos that deal with how to approach specific kinds of questions, but in this video, I want to talk about the general principles that should guide your approach to the reading. We're working on Test 3, Section 1, questions 11 through 20. So pause the video and go to factsonlytestprep.com. You'll find the links to the test there. And here we go. First, I'm going to tell you what you need to take away from this video. So we're starting at the end. In order to maximize efficiency and minimize error, read the questions first. The questions will tell you where to go. And be aware of their order, because the questions will tell you which paragraphs are... The questions will tell you which lines and paragraphs to read more closely, and where you can read through a little bit more quickly for just tone and point of view. Eliminate bad answers. Don't look for good ones. Again, we have a separate video on make or break words, but basically, the right answers are not going to jump off the page at you, and the wrong answers aren't going to look terrible. They're going to try to talk you into them. For large chunks of text that don't apply to a specific question, read the first and last sentences of paragraphs for tone and point of view, and then use the interior text as needed. You can look for keywords. You can look for names or other phrases that might apply to the test, but you don't need to take a magnifying glass out for every word of a passage. And we're just going to go over a passage. We're not going to answer specific questions here. I'm just going to show you how I think you should approach one of these. Again, this is Test 3, Section 1, questions 11 through 21. I always look here at the very beginning of any passage to see what year the passage was written. Here we see 2012, so this is contemporary. And I like to see who the author is, if it's somebody famous. I haven't heard of this author, but if this were Jane Austen or Malcolm X, or Gabriel Garcia Marquez, then that would be something that I would want to be aware of. I jump straight to the questions. Question 11 tells me that there is a specific piece of information in the third paragraph. That's the first specific question. This means that the first two paragraphs are going to give me tone and point of view, but I'm not going to learn that 61% of commuters use public transportation by reading the first two paragraphs. I don't need that information. The big information for question 11 comes from the third paragraph. Question 12 is asking for an advantage of automobile travel in North America. There's no line number, there's no paragraph number. Question 12, I'm going to have to look for that key language somewhere within the text as I continue to read. Question 13 is asking for the evidence to my answer to question 12. These are what are called handcuffed questions. There's a separate video on how to answer these. I would actually answer this pair of questions last. Question 14 is about the fourth paragraph. That means I know that I need to take my magnifying glass out as I read the fourth paragraph, just as I did for the third paragraph. Question 15 is handcuffed to 14. So I will answer those as a pair. And again, check out our video called Handcuffed Questions in order to see the specifics on how to do that. Question 16 is vocabulary. We've got a separate video for vocabulary as well, but these can be answered at any point. You just plug in each of the answer choices to the text and see which one best fits. Again, we've got a completely separate video on how to do that, but 16 could be answered at any moment. 17 is also vocabulary. Same thing. 18 asks us to look for evidence that supports a specific conclusion, which is that public transportation is compatible with the use of personal electronic devices, that's going to show up at one of these chunks of the passage. You're going to have to go to each of those chunks of the passage in order to find where that evidence exists. These questions actually become very easy to answer with practice. I would do number 18 last. Our video on handcuffed questions also has the specifics on how to answer something like 18. 19 has to do with the first figure, that's the graph that's associated with this passage, and 20 has to do with the two figures. So I cut and pasted smaller versions of each of the figures just so that you could see them all on one page. You've got larger versions on your particular links. And I answer the questions that have to do with a graph or a figure or a diagram at the end. So by analyzing our questions ahead of time, we can now read with some real intention, know where we need to focus, which is actually paragraphs 3 and 4, and know where we can go a little bit faster, and maybe even get away with just reading the first and last sentences of passages. Now, all of my students have their own approaches that they prefer. So if you like reading the whole thing and you're gonna, your OCD is gonna kick in if you skip a word or two, that's fine. Read the whole thing. Just understand where the most important information occurs. If you cannot read a whole passage without going insane, it's okay to use a lot of these shortcuts that I've discussed. Just be aware that you might have to double back a few times and look for keywords within chunks of the text that you missed. Good luck, everybody. Hey, thanks for watching, everybody. Make sure that you like us and subscribe and hit the notification bell. That way you'll get information on the new videos as soon as they're available. It helps us a lot. Also, visit us at factsonlytestprep.com. That's where you'll find links to the tests that I use in my lessons, along with some other resources that we prepared for you. Thanks and good luck.